Welcome back to Cheddar Innovates, brought to you by CuriosityStream.
Yeah, guys, the National Retail Federation just hosted their annual conference here in New York City. Nearly 40,000 people attended the big show, all to find out how new solutions and innovations can transform the retail industry. So joining us now is Jackie Trebilcock. She's the Managing Director of New York Fashion Tech Lab and Innovation Advisory Committee member for the National Retail Federation. Jackie, great to have you here. Thanks so much
for
joining
having
us.
me.
So how was this year's big show? How did it go?
It was amazing. It was very big. As you said, it was about 40,000 people from 100 different countries. 3 days. It happened just last week, and it was awesome. It's always super inspiring to kind of see what the future is of retail.
And a lot of innovations launched every year at the big show.
Yep.
They launched the Innovation Lab a few years back at the big show. What exactly is the Innovation Lab?
Yeah, so the Innovation Lab is actually my favorite part of the show. It is where, well, it actually started 4 years ago. There's about 20 startups, so companies that are about 3 years old or less. And this year there was 50 of them, so it's grown a lot. And it is companies doing many different things, from artificial intelligence to robotics, machine learnings, last mile delivery, manufacturing. And it's a great way for retailers, investors, consultants, really the whole group of 38,000 to see what's happening in the retail industry.
All right, so let's talk about some trends that are really shaking up the retail industry. You've identified one of them being on-demand manufacturing. Explain to our viewers what that means.
Yeah, so if you think about now looking at it from a fashion angle, the way in which clothing is manufactured has been the same for a while. So it's dictated by a merchant or by the designer. The clothing is ordered, it's delivered to a store, and then hopefully we all buy it. However, the consumer is really changing. We know what we want, and we also have a direct line to retailers and brands when we never had that before. So it's kind of a different time, and the manufacturing industry really needs to take note of that. And there's some new technologies that have been established to help us as the consumer be able to get what we want when we want it.
So it would almost be like the brand is curating something specifically for what we want, our needs.
Right. Well, it's the opportunity to order it what you want, and it's less waste and less inventory. So, you know, fewer better things. How do we have that, and how do we get that? And this is a way to do that, which is this on-demand manufacturing. Now, we're far off from this being mass adopted. It's going to take a while, but it's definitely a technology that I think we need to pay attention to, meaning retailers and brands as well, because this is what the consumer wants. They know what they want, and they want to be able to get it when they want it.
Well, speaking of less waste, fast fashion has been criticized lately because of their effects on climate change and carbon emissions, that sort of thing. Are there any fast fashion companies that do have a good sustainability focus in your eyes?
I think a lot of them are trying and kind of making amends to that, because the consumer wanted everything very quickly and wanted it very cheaply, and now we're all thinking more about our carbon footprint and what makes sense for the environment, which is a good thing. So consumers are thinking about it, fast fashion retailers are talking about it more, but it's ultimately on us, the consumer, to figure out and make sure that they have technologies where we can get what we want when we want it. Even if that means waiting 6 weeks, we are willing to do that if it's something that we can dictate.
Another one of the trends you've been watching in terms of retail is personalization. How are companies really using that to really go directly to their consumer?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different technologies around this. There's one that was in the lab that we'll talk about too, called Find Mine, where they're thinking about how retailers and brands can show their consumers, like think about e-commerce, what they want to see. So when you're shopping for something, you not only want to know other black blazers that exist, but what else do you wear with the black blazer? What shoes, which pants? And that's dictated usually by stylists, sometimes by merchants, but if it can be automated, that's even better. So that's a way for a technology that could be integrated and allow the consumer to have a more personalized shopping experience, which in the end leads to bigger sales, which is what everyone wants.
You mentioned e-commerce. Last mile delivery is another trend that you're watching, the costliest part of delivery. How are smaller players who are not in Amazon, who are not a Walmart, keeping up in the last mile delivery space?
Yeah, so that's, I think, a really timely topic. There's a lot of companies that we've worked with in New York Fashion Tech Lab. There's one that was in the Innovation Lab that's addressing this. And really, it's similar to the manufacturing story where retailers were delivering things a certain way. You'd order online, it'd take a while to get it, but cut to Amazon, everyone's expecting things much quicker. So how do these larger retailers and brands figure out ways to get the customer what they want more quickly? So there was a company in the Innovation Lab called Bond, and they have a network of nano warehouses where you can get what you need on the same day. And they work with retailers and brands to propel that. So again, retailers and brands, whether they're larger multi-brand retailers or legacy brands, they need to think about how they can get their customers what they need and incorporating startups like these into their processes will ultimately help serve the consumer, which is the goal.
Let's talk about brands being enabled. Explain that a little bit.
Yeah, so back to the manufacturing piece, one of the companies that was in the innovation lab was called Enabled. We actually worked with them in New York Fashion Tech Lab back in 2014. They have a consumer-facing platform called 19th Amendment, so spelled out. You can go on there and shop today. Basically, you can order from emerging designers, and just as we talked about, get it delivered directly to you, so on demand in 6 weeks. And then they launched Enabled, which is geared towards retailers and brands. So if you are a retailer or brand and want to know how can you actually deliver just-in-time inventory to your consumer, they've empowered the entire back end. So from the tech pack to the delivery, they'll handle that for any retailer and brand.
All very exciting stuff.
Yeah.
If you love retail and fashion, this is amazing where the future is going with this. Jackie Trebilcock is the Managing Director of New York Fashion Tech Lab and Innovation Advisory Committee member for the National Retail Federation. Thanks again for joining us.
Thank you.
Coming up, could one of the most unexplored places on the planet hold the key to ending climate change? Stick around, because after the quick break, a sneak peek into a new Curiosity Stream original. That's next.